Hey Outsole observers, it's great to have you here with us in the shoe sanctuary. It's your old buddy Ed, encapsulated air bud here. Today I have an initial review for you, the Under Armour HOVR Mega 2 clone. Big name, big shoe. Welcome back to the channel guys, much appreciated that you've come and joined us once again. An initial review for you today of a brand new running shoe. This one has the name of some sort of destructive robot. A shoe of character and unique vibes, you have to say. And I'm keen to convey my views. UA have sent me over these shoes to experience and enjoy, and I wholeheartedly thank them for it. Though you get my honest opinions as per usual, they're not paying me to make this video. I'm just going to tell it like it is. Let's get to the stats. So, here in my hand is a UK size 11 or US size 12. It clocks in at 374 grams, which is 13.2 ounces. So it's certainly on the heftier side of life. Just for comparison, the Ultraboost in my size is about 403 grams, which is about an ounce heavier than the Mega 2 clone. Certainly a more substantial shoe here than the Flow Velocity Wind that I reviewed from Under Armour earlier on this year. Though not all runners really need a super light shoe. Some need more underfoot cushion and stability. This one comes in with a heel to toe drop of 8mm and a UK Earth credit price of $129. We'll start with the t-shirt like upper first. Initial runs totaling 14 miles, which is around about 22.5 kilometers. The upper on the Mega 2 clone works a treat. It's almost like a foamposite type situation here. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've ever worn any of the LeBron basketball shoes, namely the 17. Also, if you've ever worn a Nike Presto, I think the shoe actually looks in profile very similar to that model. You got this elasticated tongue here, very unique feature. Helps the upper to sort of mould around your foot. You get like a custom fit, I suppose, from that area of the shoe. I would state the shoe is a little bit snug in my UK size 11. Perhaps going up half a size could be a good idea. Noted some people have said it's true to size. I certainly think a half size up is probably about right. I've altered my pair by sticking in a slightly thinner insole, and that has resolved the problem. It's just given me a tiny bit more room in the toe box there and pretty much tailored the fit. The upper is certainly reminiscent of the Adidas Ultraboost 21 in some ways. You have the eyelet rows there that pull the different sides of the upper together, kind of pulls them tight around your foot, and you've got a wedge of padding in the back of the shoe to lock in the heel. Got these large plastic sections here that aren't actually stuck on to the upper as well. They create a kind of lock all the way back around the foot. A really unique idea, and I've got to say it's very comfortable on foot. Though I would suggest it does alter the balance of the shoe towards the rear. I think most of the weight's positioned here, so yeah, it did make me feel that I needed to put a little extra effort to get up onto my toes. It wasn't too chilly today on the foggy, misty morn, which is ideal as autumn is just around the corner. A bit of an unnecessary pull tab here at the back, but I've folded it down so I can't see it. The upper really is a mishmash of several different shoes to me. You've got a little bit of the Infinity Run Flyknit in there, certainly the Nike Presto, and also the Adidas Ultraboost 21. And pretty much all the other Ultraboosts. I think one for runners that are after a versatile fit, though do be warned, there's no extra eyelets here if you're after a runner's knot. The upper material is quite absorbent. I did take it out in some wetter conditions, though which uppers aren't absorbent these days is very few. The padding around the ankle did get a little bit damp and it took a while to dry, so if you're running in those conditions on a frequent basis, do be warned. I got a good fit here though without too much fooling around with the laces. I didn't have any inconsistency over the lockdown over the course of any of my runs at all. As such, I really like the upper, probably one of the best bits of the shoe, and I like the innovation as well, just something a little bit different from the tried and tested formulas. I'm going to give it a 2.6 out of 3 for upper after my initial runs. Moving on to the midsole now. We have HOVR foam here in the midsole of the shoe, complete with Map My Run functionality as well. So you can go out and run in the shoe, come back and then sync it up with your phone and look at a load of interesting metrics about your performance. Kind of great if you don't want to take your phone out with you. The shoe will kind of monitor all of that and you just sync it up later. Could be useful in the winter. So you can see that quite considerable rubber section reaches around the back area of the shoe, sort of encompassing the midsole material really. Reminds me a little bit of the Air Max 3 or Air Max 90 and also some of the Jordan shoes, mainly the 3, 4 and 5 and the 6. Just got that big window there, and it kind of looks a little bit like that. Certainly HOVR foam here in the midsole is quite a lot denser than some of the other things that we're used to these days. It's certainly no Fuel Cell or Zoom X, but that's not really what it's trying to be. Apparently it uses olefin wax. I'm sure no bees have been harmed in the making of the shoe. It's been placed in there with the foam to provide a bit more resilience, apparently. Certainly a denser ride though, underfoot, but still soft. Certainly not a huge energy return here, that's just not what the shoe's about. But judging by the colossal number of runners using Ultraboost and Under Armour shoes at the recent Great Bristol Run that I was involved with, it's made me rethink a little bit about what average everyday runners want. They don't want something super soft and unstable. Not everybody wants some super shoe hot off the press. The lion's share of runners want something that's stable and cushioned enough to go the miles. And that's exactly what we've got here. A very stable ride in the HOVR Mega 2 clone. It worked really well actually on my very tired legs after the half marathon race at the weekend. Just a very sensible feel here with zero balance issues. I went up through the gears, even reasonable, up to about 7 minutes 30 per mile to about 7 minutes per mile. So in that zone, approaching my half marathon target pace. At leisurely paces, more around 8:30 per mile through to about 8 minutes per mile, it suited me well, despite being a slight runner. The weight of the HOVR midsole material there didn't really bother me at all. Again, if you're a heavier runner, then the denser feel in the HOVR midsole might really suit you, perhaps if you're going to use it for daily miles or some more airy, longer runs. No super shoe here, this is very much a training shoe, and one of quite copious cushion. I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 3 for the midsole. I don't think it's a shoe for everybody, but I think if it does work for you, then it's going to work for you over a ginormous number of miles. Moving on to the outsole now. Here we've got some considerable rubber that really does help with that smooth transition, but sadly does weigh the shoe down a little bit as well. I think my preference would be to reduce the amount of rubber here on the outsole. It does feel a little bit like the rubber cage section here around the midsole as well. It's kind of stifling that midsole material somewhat, and it feels like the cage is there to provide some resilience, but for me and my weight, I just don't think I need it. Great grip out there though on the roads. It's quite considerable when you're out on some tarmac roads. Really does feel like you've got some traction. Just a little bit too much though. They could have reduced it down. I think it's about 4 millimeters of rubber, both in the forefoot section here and in the rear of the shoe. I mean, it's going to last a huge number of miles. That rubber's not going anywhere. So if it's your one and only shoe for logging some daily miles, it's going to put in a good innings. I think if they just reduce down these windows of rubber here, there's a good centimetres worth in some places. Reduce down the lug depth as well here in the forefoot, I think you'd be onto a winner. So after my initial runs, a 2.2 out of 3 for outsole. It's just a little bit too much of it for me. Value now. So vastly cheaper than the Ultraboost 21 and all the other Ultraboosts that you can still buy. It's getting a little bit confusing actually, Adidas. And I find there's a lot more cushion here in the mid to forefoot section of the shoe. I think perhaps a closer comparison might be the Solarboost 3. Again, a shoe for those who want a lot of cushion, quite dense impact protection. It's a touch cheaper at retail, though I have noticed the Solarboost 3 is discounted right now. Though of course you're lacking the stats that you gain in this shoe on the Map My Run app. There's lots of different things there: cadence, your actual attack angle of your foot, pace, so on, it's all there. I think at 129 Earth credits UK, it's comparable to something like the Infinity Run from Nike, or perhaps even the Summitros from Reebok. Although that shoe again wins out because it's that bit cheaper. Though value wise, I think the shoe's just generally going to last an age if it works for you. It's not a shoe I'm certainly going to leave on the shelf. Even being a lighter runner, I really enjoyed the smooth miles in it. And that was with some tired legs too. I think I'll give it a reasonable 2.3 out of 3 for value on this occasion. I'll see how it goes a little further down the line. It just seems a really well put together shoe. There's no dodgy stitching or glue marks, anything like that. Some of the big names have produced some quite low quality offerings recently, but this one's certainly up there in terms of quality. So if I've totaled the scores up correctly, that gives us a 9.6 out of 12 after my initial runs for the Under Armour HOVR Mega 2 clone. Just a few tweaks needed here and there in the midsole and the outsole to make this shoe a real winner. I wonder what will happen in the next iteration. Just hope they let that midsole free. a quick musical interlude for you. An EP to check out today, guys, by Hannah Francis. Recently released, this is live at the Chicago Music Exchange, which is like a guitar wonderland. 4 tracks on this one, and they're all of beautiful acoustic quality. This lady can really play and sing. Wonderful tones. She plays a 12-string acoustic guitar at one point, and the depth of sound is just fantastic. I did listen to her latest album, but I didn't really like the production quite so much. But these acoustic versions of the tracks really hit the spot. Honey, Hear Me and Upstream are my favourites, although the other 2 tracks are great as well. There's even a little conversation part at the end of the EP with the chaps at Chicago Music Exchange. Definitely worth checking out, guys. Hannah Francis, live at the Chicago Music Exchange. Thanks for sticking with me to the end of today's video, guys. Always appreciated. If you haven't done so already, help the channel out by hitting that subscribe button and also clicking the bell below for notifications when we launch those new videos for you. And it really does help us move up the charts if you give this video a thumbs up like, but also share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you. Good morning, guys. Testing out the Under Armour HOVR Mega 2 clone today. Reminds me a little bit of like a Nike Presto. Almost like a t-shirt type material on top. And quite considerable, more maximally cushioned midsole underneath. About to disappear into a load of mist. Very foggy this morning. Certainly is brisk. Glad I've got the arm sleeves on today. These are feeling really good for a sort of lighter recovery type pace, keeping things in the easy zone, nice and solid and firm and assured underfoot. Grip is good. Certainly not the lightest of shoes, but I'm finding there's a time and place for those that work really well for me. Like after a race, where I'm bringing the pace back a bit and just getting the legs operational again. I think these could be a really good alternative. Perhaps if you're a heavier set runner and you find the Ultraboost series or perhaps the Solarboost series just a little bit too heavy, there's a little bit too much cushion. Feeling pretty good going up the hills there. Oh man, it's chilly. I'm not going to complain though. There were loads and loads of vlogs where I complained about how hot it was, so yeah, it's ideal now. I love it. I'm really enjoying the cold. Got to do more hills. The hills don't run themselves. 6 miles there, I'll knock it on the head. I got to go to work. Enjoying these, they feel good underfoot. Nice and controlled, I suppose. Don't think it's a stability shoe or there's any stability features there, but it does feel nice and controlled, nice and smooth, similar to the Craft CTM Ultra that I tried out the other day. So yeah, maybe a bit of a comparison going on there. Right, let's get back to the studio.